Hello everyone, I am the storyteller, and tonight I am here just to help you relax, to drift off to sleep by the sound of the waves, like the whispers of old souls. I know you have come to this video not just to hear the story, but also to find a deep, peaceful sleep. But before we begin, please gently like the video and subscribe to the channel so I can continue to tell you strange stories under the dim moonlight. Where are you from? And what time is it where you live? Just relax. Let your body relax. Put all your worries down by your pillow. Let me take you into a world of mysteries where the wind and the waves mingle, and unsolved mysteries are waiting to be told. Are you ready? Take me. I no longer wanted to live my life, but neither did I wish to die. So I resisted the temptation of the eternal abyss, knowing that any afterlife would hold no consolation. In effect, choosing a living death, achieved by numbing my senses against the world and disappearing within. By day, it was books, movies, video games, anything to place my mind in the body of another, transporting my consciousness to a plane where there were strict rules, and the main character always triumphed, as opposed to the uncertainty of my own existence. Rarely did I surface from fantasy, and only when my body demanded it absolutely necessary. The sun never graced my flesh, and the air of my sealed chamber weighed heavy with my own musk. I was a fully grown woman, living as a teenage boy, and I didn't care. By night, it was a chemical affair. Amber spirit of any form or flavor would achieve my goal, as long as it was served with ice in its heart. Taste was a luxury I could ill afford. Not after losing my career to sheer apathy. It no longer seemed of any import whether digital numbers fell in line with invented targets. The whole world operated on an imaginary system of credit that existed only because we said it did. Anything outside of a practical vocation for which I no longer had time or patience to learn felt like playing pretend and a waste of life. My usual haunt was a quiet dive bar at the end of my city block. Its proximity, the only deciding factor, limiting the expedition home to a straight line stumble. That night, I spent as any other, nursing a tumbler and examining the slow melt of the frozen shards it protected. Time for one last round, sweetheart? Frank asked, ducking his head into my line of sight. He was a kind soul. Despite the tattoo-covered biceps, large enough to toss me out like a rag doll, he always let me brood in peace. Watching my back and moving on any would-be suitors, the apparent ruffian doted on me with a brotherly worry. He never denied my cash, though. While busy at weekends, the quiet, dead-end joint couldn't afford to turn away drunks the rest of its working days. I felt at times to be single-handedly paying the poor guy's wage. Always, I answered, offering up my low-tide glass and a half-hearted smile. As he poured, I glanced across the room. There were a few men in suits, clearly avoiding their homes and wives. A couple of tourists just looking for a warm place to rest, and a scattering of solitary older women. They, like me, I assumed, had nowhere else to go, no one to return to, and nothing to live for, aside from the never-ending goal of forgetting. I'd had it all. Not so long ago, I had been lucky enough to know love and comfort. However, my good fortune was stolen away by one solitary word, printed in black ink on a medical chart. That word had ripped my future away and burned it to ash for good measure, leaving me here in my perpetual endeavor to avoid my own existence. Holed up at the corner booth, he was there. As always, my constant, silent drinking buddy. Every night, he arrived like clockwork in a pressed black shirt and pants with shining black boots. His midnight wardrobe offset only by the pale ivory of his skin and the crimson of his lips. Ordering a single jar of bourbon, which would never grace his tongue, there he stoically remained, silently surveying the room. I had never even seen him rise to use the bathroom. How he managed to leave several times a week with a different conquest on his arm, I had no idea. Girl or guy, it didn't seem to matter to him. They just flocked to his side, like magnets being drawn together. With only a look, he seemed to seduce a target with an hour or less of minimal effort. He then escorted them out the door for what I only assumed to be a night of intense pleasure. He was certainly handsome, in a clean-cut way, but he had never directed his gaze at me or any of the other regulars. It was always the passing through that succumbed. Alaric was his name, according to Frank. In spite of his blatant philandering, I couldn't help but imagine he treated his prey with more humanity that I had been dealt by the man I once loved. That cursed filth had proclaimed to love me. The putrid liar had promised me protection. The venomous snake had abandoned me at my most vulnerable. One word was all it took to break our bond, shatter his oath completely. One printed word, voiced in clinical monotone under fluorescent lights. The word that tore my future to shreds and sent my beloved in search of a more suitable mate. Infertile. I had been told I was still grieving, and knew it to be true. My depression, spiced with anger, told a traditional tale. What I considered a lie was that it would end in an accepted peace. How could it, when my natural immortality had been ripped away? Any harmony I would have found in life would have risen from knowing my memory, and soul would have persisted through the generations that came after me. Anecdotes told of my character to grandchildren and onward, keeping me alive in thought, my name on a branch of an ever-expanding tree. Instead, there would be no furthering of my story. It would end when I did. So why not just get it over with? Any experiences gained would be lost to time anyway. So why bother? Why expend all that energy on impermanence? I should have just ended the torment that day, when my forehead had been stamped with pointless. There were only 2 reasons I held back from instigating the end. One was the fear that any afterlife would be purposed with watching over loved ones, for which I had none. So it would tally that I would be no better off than I was now. The other was Alaric, and the solution I had begun to suspect he could offer me. My quest to lose myself in various media had educated me thoroughly in the ways of the vampire, the desperate young girl in need of connection, an outcast from the society surrounding her. Ill-fitting in the living world, she would always come across a creature of the night who would welcome her into his ranks, usually with sultry and salacious single-mindedness. Alas, if Alaric was what I suspected him to be, he ignored me, perhaps because my clouded mind was reaching for a fantasy solution to a real-life problem. Most likely, he was only a strange-looking man with a talent for seduction. Regardless, I couldn't shake the idea. Too many aspects of his regular attendance pointed to the supernatural. If I was wrong, all I would achieve was appearing like the drunk I had become, which was small consequence to risk being proven right. "Good evening, Alaric," I slurred, and slid onto the red velvet bench beside him. "Do I know you?" he asked in a soft English accent. His slow and steady speech belayed a calm in direct contrast to my harsh American. "Not officially, but I've sat at that bar every night for several weeks, watching you, so I believe I know you very well." "Oh?" he asked, waiting for me to fill the space. "I know what you are," I whispered, in the way that inebriated people do when they believe themselves subtle. "And what is that?" he said, smiling as if humoring a toddler. The feeling of being infantilized by a look sent waves of submission through me. It made me feel safe under his powerful gaze, willing to surrender control into his adept hands. Returning to a childlike state would allow me to release the expectations I had placed on myself to assume parenthood, which only solidified my resolve to follow my intended course of action. "Vampire," I blurted. I did not want to drag this out into a feature film of suspect and intrigue. I wanted my answer and solution that night. The sooner, the better. His reaction was as expected, a hearty laugh, but one that did not convince his eyes that my accusation was truly funny. "Does such a thing exist?" he asked of me. I did not believe so, until I happened upon you. I see you taking victims, always transients who never return. You never drink, never eat, never use the bathroom. You are pale, intense, clothed in black, and I have only ever seen you at night. Perhaps I am simply peculiar, he offered. Perhaps. I nodded. I think it worth looking the fool to discover the truth. He responded, never breaking his eye contact. His intense stare examining every facet of me via the portal of my irises. It felt as though he flayed me from the outside until his scrutiny fell upon my vulnerable soul. I now understood how he seduced so many, so quickly. I wish you to turn me, I said, interrupting his gaze before I fell completely at his feet. My life has lost all meaning with the living, and I would greet death but for the fear of further loneliness. I see a single solution for one who would not live, but does not wish to die. So please, take me with you into immortality. Follow me, he said, and rose, striding to the doors, without looking back to see if I followed. He must have been as certain as I was that I would. Ignoring a disapproving look from Frank, I made my way across the room to the exit. I pursued my immediate master out of the bar and through dark alleys that all smelled of refuse and rats. Stumbling to remain on his heels, I signaled my deference like a dog called to attend. He stopped suddenly, turning and reaching a strong arm around my waist, and in one motion, pressing me against the scorched wall of a building. Dumpsters, boxes, and crates now blocked my view of anything but him. You would submit to your impulse? He asked, his lips pressed to my ear and his hand against my chest, pinning me in place against the cold bricks. I could feel his heavy breaths quickening in lust, his hand quivering where it rested between my breasts. Whether it was from desire for my blood or body, I still did not know. The chance of stretching my living death into infinity was worth giving him either. You would succumb to my will? He asked again. Break from this life and join me in whatever comes next? Yes! I screamed in ecstasy, feeling excitement and promise for the first time since that word had plunged me into darkness. Take me, please. Take me away from this temporary world. Sudden pain and cold followed, his dead cheeks pressing against my neck and his teeth puncturing my jugular. My warm blood mixed with his icy touch, like boiling soup spilt on a snowy mountain. I closed my eyes and writhed in anticipation of the immortality I sought. Eventually, he pulled back. The world swam and swirled as my head felt as but a feather. I saw his chin stained brown with my dried blood. How long had I given myself to this creature? The low light of the alley weighed down on my senses. The rotten smell of the trash bags assaulted, and without his hard body pressed against mine, I felt exposed. Will it happen now? I managed to mutter through the disorientation, my eyes rolling and unable to focus on his beautiful face. Will you die? Yes. Will you turn? I doubt it, he said, sneering down at me. Somehow he had grown tall, or I had fallen. I did not know which was more real. I am a predator, not some romanticized, dangerous lover to be tamed, as this age loves to depict. You are nothing but prey. I have no desire to intentionally turn game, as I am sure you would not share your bed with a cow. He spun on his heels and stalked into the night, with no further words or explanation. I was alone, crumpled amongst the filth, dying in the dark. I had not the energy to fear, only regret the trust I had placed in a monster I had not understood. As my eyelids grew heavier and the cold seeped deeper, I began to long for those temporary years, the moments I was so willing to throw away, for all the time I could have had for myself, the experiences I could have taken as my own without concern of their lasting, for the lives I could have affected, but now never would. Perhaps the next plane would offer more than I had imagined. I did not intend to waste the chance again. If it did, I closed my eyes and waited for whatever would come next, accepting in peace that I had ushered in my own end by ungratefully reaching for more than I had been gifted. Dig deep. Other than a faint glow coming from one of the back rooms, the town's charity shop was in darkness, its front door firmly closed. Although it had opened in 1985, the building had been used commercially since the 1800s, when it had variously been a pharmacy, a bank, and a tavern. The shop was close to the river in Marpleton, a pleasant English market town which had once been home to a nearby priory. In ancient times, monks had wandered back and forth to sell their wares at a market which still existed in diminished form across the road. Regulars were now peering through the shop window, but the main lights stayed off. A few of the shop's helpers were huddled in the back room. Patrick, the treasurer, had collected the spare keys from the greengrocer to let them in. The gatherers were addressing one topic, namely, why their long-serving manager, Rhea, had failed to open up the day before. I just can't understand it, Ivy, one of the shop's founding members, said. I've never known her not to turn up, unless she's on holiday. In all the years I've known Rhea, she's never had a day's sickness. Wasn't she going to New Zealand to visit her sister? Patrick asked. She was, but not until the following week. It's in the shop diary. Here, take a look. Ivy tapped the relevant pages meaningfully. I'm not doubting you, Ivy, but she may have got the dates wrong. She wasn't in the habit of making mistakes. Ivy's loyalty knew no bounds. Patrick adopted a different approach. You've tried Ria's landline, I take it, several times. Each time, it went straight to answer phone. Right. Still, I expect we're worrying over nothing. But you have to admit, she has been a bit distracted lately, someone piped up. Patrick turned to Silvana hopefully, but she shook her head. I've tried her on her mobile, but nothing. Silvana was a refugee who had joined the shop 2 years earlier. Since Ria had taken her under her wing when she first came to England, her English had improved markedly. Silvana had been on the verge of admitting her true feelings for Ria. Reality had crushed the likelihood of her returning to her homeland anytime soon, and been replaced by something entirely unexpected. An overwhelming love for another human being. Silvana's great wish was to know whether that love was returned. Ria clearly liked her, but was it worth risking their friendship for more? The path to such an admission seemed littered with obstacles. Now, the mystery of Ria's whereabouts could be added to an already growing list. Dad, did Ria say anything about changing her holiday plans, Silvana? Patrick asked, determined to get to the bottom of things. No, I went to her house for my lesson last Wednesday. She told me she'd be away all next week. Silvana had considered the matter carefully. Yes, that is so. Patrick said. I guess I'll have to contact the area manager about reopening the shop. You'll need to do that. Volunteer phone numbers are stored in the locked cabinet, and only Ria has the key, Ivy interjected. Head office have contact numbers too. Everyone knew Ria always carried a set of keys on a fob attached to a waistband. Patrick joked she secretly had a cellar key for the shop's more trying customers, to which he'd received an enigmatic smile. The actual cellar key had supposedly vanished in the mists of time. Certainly, there was no call to use the cellar with ample storage space elsewhere. In any case, the cellar door was kept permanently locked, preventing anyone getting trapped if there was a fire. Patrick scrutinized the rota sheets. Maybe Judd would be willing to help if we reopen the shop, he suggested. Silvana, who distrusted Judd, said nothing. 3 months earlier, dressed in black jeans and hoodie, and trailed by a mournful cocker spaniel, Judd had shown up to inquire about volunteering. When Silvana had bent to pat his dog, it had backed off, whimpering. She gets nervous round new people, Judd had explained. Tucking away the banking money, Patrick had gone to fetch Ria. A young man's inquiring about volunteering, he'd told her. Shall I send him through? What's he like? Ria was wearily tapping information into the computer at her desk. He seems pleasant enough. His dog's rather nervous. Ria massaged her aching neck. Send him through, she said. Ria had confided in Silvana about her difficulty in getting references for Judd Dig Deep. Eventually, he'd presented her with 2 typed ones, supposedly from an ex-employer. With typical thoroughness, Ria had rung one of the numbers to learn more about the new helper. When a voice answered, sounding suspiciously like Judd's, she'd intended to investigate further. However, other things had intervened. A few weeks after this uncharacteristic omission, Judd was indeed proving to be an asset. Willing to turn his hand to anything, it was a relief not having to lift heavy sacks and boxes donated by the public from one end of the shop to the other. With little guidance, Judd had transformed one of the sorting rooms, leaving it immaculate. One evening, when Silvana cycled past the back of the shop, she noticed a group of undesirables hanging with Judd, engrossed in conversation. She hurried past, hoping she hadn't been seen. She raised her concerns to Ria, who told her it was nothing to worry about, that she'd keep an eye on things, and bafflingly added, "I'd rather you didn't mention this to anyone else." The day the shop reopened, without Ria at the helm, was Silvana's birthday. Patrick invited her to join him later for one of his wife's specials, homemade pizza and pear wine. The food tasted delicious, but she pushed her plate to one side. "You're still worried about Ria, aren't you?" Patrick observed. "Her cell phone is dead. It's strange. I knocked on her door last night, but still no answer." Patrick got up. "I tell you what, I happen to know Ria's neighbor, Angela, from the book club. She looks after the garden when Ria goes away. She may well have a spare key. I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, but it wouldn't do any harm to check if everything is all right." Silvana was relieved. "That's a great idea. Thanks, Patrick. I've been known to have a few in my time. Come on, get your coat. Let's see if we can solve this mystery." Half an hour later, the pair were standing in Ria's house. The hallway led into an open-plan kitchen diner with gleaming countertops and state-of-the-art gadgets. The smell of coffee lingered invitingly. When Ria's partner, Lindsay, had died 5 years earlier, she'd left her with a generous insurance payout. Silvana sighed, remembering the other day when she and Ria had drawn close over a bottle of wine. Ria had even given her a present, only to be opened on your birthday, she instructed. But beneath the gaiety, she'd been out of sorts. Ria had brushed aside Silvana's offer of help with a brisk, "I'm fine. I'll check down here if you do upstairs," Patrick said, jolting Silvana back to the present. The passport was lying on the bedside table. However, the photograph bore little resemblance to the person Silvana had come to love and admire. Having spent time working for a private detective agency when she was younger, instinct overrode caution, and she began a meticulous search for clues. Predictably, Ria's shop keys were lying on the bedside table. More unexpected was the discovery of another set of keys attached to a ring with a tag labeled "Cellar." "Are you all right?" Patrick called up from the bottom of the staircase. "I'm okay." Silvana tucked the cellar keys into her bag. Then she remembered Ria's present and opened it. She was surprised to find a pay-as-you-go phone, already charged up. "Well?" Patrick exclaimed. "Did you find anything?" "Just this." She gave him the passport. "That's odd. It appears she never made it to New Zealand after all. Maybe it's time to involve the police." "What? Right now?" "It is rather late. I doubt they'll want to be disturbed tonight." Patrick thought of the half-opened bottle of wine waiting back home. "I'll act tomorrow morning. Shall I walk you back?" "No need. I can take care of myself," Silvana said firmly. Casa. The moon was her only companion as Silvana descended the cellar steps at the back of the shop. With growing unease, she encased her hands in a pair of gloves and took off her shoes. She didn't want anyone to know of her presence. After 3 attempts, the door creaked open, and she was met by a cloying damp, overlaid by something else, something unpleasant. Tensing, she flicked on her phone torch and spotted a narrow corridor with another door at the end. Filled with foreboding, she slowly turned the handle. She smelt the body before she saw it. Wearing the trademark hoodie, the bloating, discolored thing in front of her, could hardly be called human. Judd lay slumped against an upturned table, his eyes staring and opaque. Silvana covered her face with a handkerchief to prevent retching and inspected the scene, noting the bloodied head and smashed vase lying beside it. The blood had pooled and dried, staining the clothes and floor. She was no expert, but if the rotting undertones were anything to go by, death had probably occurred a few days earlier. Even then, horror was blunted by relief. So long as it wasn't Rhea, she had the strength for anything. But where was Rhea? Adjusting to the dimness, Silvana tried to make sense of her surroundings. Some crudely constructed shelves, filled with storage tubs and packets, lay stacked against one of the walls. The place was obviously some kind of drugs den. Could Judd's death have been the result of a disagreement with other gang members? Silvana's stomach lurched. What if they turned up and found her? She'd only just locked the cellar door and picked up her shoes when she heard voices on the driveway. Somehow, she managed to scramble behind one of the bins underneath the fire escape. Hardly daring to breathe, she waited until the scuffling feet passed, and the gang disappeared down the cellar steps. Then, she bolted into the night as fast as her trembling legs would carry her. She would decide what to do when she got home. Halfway across the town's park, muffled ringtones came from her bag. "Silvana?" The voice was clear as day at the other end of the line. "Rhea, is it really you? Thank God. Are you all right? Where are you calling from? Talk to me. If I tell you, you must keep it to yourself," Rhea said urgently. "Of course. By the way, I have your keys." "The shop keys?" "The cellar keys. Long story. I have just been down there. I found him. Judd. Dead. It was horrible." Silvana began to laugh hysterically as the shock kicked in. "You went into the cellar?" Rhea repeated. "Why? I needed to know if you were all right. I was so afraid I was going to find you, not him." When I saw your passport, I knew you couldn't have gone abroad. That something must have happened. I didn't get the chance. What happened? I will tell you, but not now. Not on the phone. Patrick is planning to go to the police tomorrow about your passport, Ria asked. Did you touch anything when you went into the cellar? Did you touch him? No. Silvana's teeth were chattering from shock. It's cold outside. I was wearing gloves. But what do you know about Judd? Why were you wearing gloves? I don't know. I had a bad feeling. I didn't want to be implicated in anything. Back home, I once worked at a detective agency. I learned about not touching crime scenes. You may want to call the police, Ria said. But please, can I ask you not to tell them I got in contact? Or about me giving you the phone? We'll meet soon. That is, if you want to. I'll understand if you don't want anything more to do with me. Of course I want to meet you. It seemed silly pretending now. It's all I think about. Cha. Silvana's heart flipped when she saw the distant figure standing on the pier below. The matinee performance at the Pavilion Theater was in full swing, and the pier was almost deserted. She came up behind Ria, patting her on the shoulder. Hey, Ria turned, instantly relaxing when she saw her friend. Hey. Silvana sank into Ria's arms. For a long time, the pair embraced. It's so good to see you, Silvana said. Likewise. Ria glanced round. Does anyone know you're here? No. And I'm so hungry. Ria grinned. How about some fish and chips? I'll treat you. You mean the famous English fish and chips? Ria grinned. I've discovered a great place on the front. She linked arms with Silvana. Come on, let's eat. Then I'll tell you everything. Cha. Judd was a bad lot, Ria admitted later. He was running a drug racket, and I threatened to report him to the police. It doesn't surprise me. But how did you find out? Not long after I joined the shop, I was clearing up one of the back rooms and came across a discarded cabinet. There were 2 sets of cellar keys in it. I never told anyone about them, partly because I didn't want a lot of fuss. I wanted to keep it to myself. Unfortunately, Judd caught me coming up the stairs one evening and demanded to store his things there. I didn't like the way he spoke to me. When I refused, he threatened to torture his dog in front of me. He implied if I didn't comply, I'd be next. His eyes were so cold. For the second time in my life, I felt real fear. There would be time enough to ask about the first time, Silvana thought, clasping Ria's hand. I'm afraid there's more, Ria said dully. You probably won't want anything to do with me when you hear the rest. Silvana clutched Ria's hand more tightly. She'd come too far to be brushed aside. Why don't you let me be the judge of that? She said firmly. Whatever it is, we'll bear it together. You see, I love you. I need you to know that. You do? For a moment, Ria's face shone. That's a relief, she said, laughing. I thought it was just me. Did you? Silvana laughed too. I may have had my suspicions, but I didn't want to say anything. Oh, I'm so happy, Silvana said. But Hold your horses before we get carried away, Rhea warned. Hold my horses? An English expression. It means don't count your chickens. Count my chickens? Silvana, my love, let me finish my story before you say anything. Okay, sorry. Silvana nibbled a stray chip. Rhea was smiling in spite of everything. In the end, I couldn't stand being held to ransom by a bully like Judd. A few days ago, I foolishly decided to confront him in the cellar. He went to grab a knife from the table. There was an old jar on one of the shelves, and as he turned, I smashed it over his head. She shuddered. I couldn't tell you all this, but I made sure you had the phone before I left. I hoped you'd stay in touch. The day after, I headed here. Not wanting to be traced, I paid for everything with cash. But surely the police will realize you only acted in self-defense, Silvana insisted. Perhaps I should have gone to them straight away, but I couldn't face it. Rhea's hesitation was palpable, especially considering what? In spite of the warmth between them, Silvana felt a sudden chill, like someone walking over a grave. What aren't you telling me? Rhea's voice broke. I'm terminally ill. At best, I only have months to live. At worst, it will be weeks. I have all the medication I need. I just want to spend my last days in a place with happy memories. I can't believe it. But Silvana knew Rhea was speaking the truth. She tried to disguise her anguish. How long have you known? She whispered. I only found out for certain the day before Judd threatened me in the cellar. Maybe I wasn't thinking straight. I should have told the police everything long before, but by then, I was in too deep. I'm going to stay with you. Silvana had never been more certain of anything. Rhea shook her head. Stay with me tonight, and go back tomorrow. It won't be long before the police check the cellar. It will look odd if you're not there. I have every faith in your survival skills. Look how far you've come. In the meantime, there's something I want you to have. What is it? Rhea handed Silvana 2 envelopes. Inside one is a plan of the cellar. After years of searching, I think I may have finally uncovered the sealed entrance to a tunnel leading to the old priory. My father was a historian and suspected there might be one near the shop. The other is a copy of my will. It's my final and dearest wish to make your life better when I've gone. Sacrifice. This is an adult story with language and content which may offend those easily offended. I can remember the sparkles. Sunshine on water. At the river, that warm day in late spring. I remember the droplets on her skin, and I remember her eyes. Her huge, childlike eyes, deep brown and clear and innocent. Still unaware of her beauty, a child. Her perfect sun-kissed legs. I couldn't keep my eyes off her. I thought, how long do I have? How long will it take her to finish her drink? Lips pouting round the rim. I didn't want it to end. A face like one of those perfect, golden ratio faces that artists paint. Every single freckle was perfect, but she was real and was so beautiful it could have made me cry. And when she dived into the river, swam, ran on the bank, I watched her, and I wanted her. I have skills, talents. Everyone knows I can charm, manipulate, lead them where I want them to go. Call me a wolf, but all wolves aren't the same. There is one kind with an amenable disposition, tame and gentle, following the young girls in the streets into their homes. The young girls don't know that these gentle wolves, out of all the wolves, are the most dangerous. Yes, I have skills. I know these girls. They go for the bad boy, and I am the likeness of a devouring wolf, strong and mighty, with great, large eyes, which in the night sparkle like fire, and a wide mouth with most sharp and cruel teeth, a strong body. They want me. They want the dangerous man. All the girls are racing to be the first to bleed, first to kiss, first to touch, first to fuck. It's not that they especially want any of these things, but they are terrified of being different, of being left behind. Stay with the flock, keep in time. She, as much as the others, terrified of not being the perfect girl, the girl who speaks quietly and calmly, who is always kind and nice, never mean or bossy. She who wants to fit in, not lead or lag. So, yes, I could have had her, led her there, like any of the others. But this one was different. I had imagined, her and I, something real. I could have shown her things, many beautiful things, and excitement too. It was a dream, I know it could never happen. Eventually I'd change, and it would all go bad. The moon or the season would call me, and I'd hurt her, knowing I didn't want to. It's too hard when it comes, not something you can fight. It just happens. They know that, the ones who choose the girl to wear the hood. In the end, they all know that in the end, the bloodlust prevails. Yes, I'd eat that heart, panting hot and raw. Eat that sweet, dainty morsel. I don't know why they had to send her, why they had to send this girl. Any girl would have been okay. Any young girl. Fresh, you know. They knew. I think they knew my feelings for her. They must have known when they chose her, when they gave her the robe and the hood, chose her as the virgin. And they knew when they sent her out. They knew she had to die like the others, like every year. Did that make it better? Stronger? They for sure didn't think of me. Why would they? None of them ever cared about me. Here we are on the path. Her rich cascade of auburn hair tumbling out from her hood. She's skipping, smiling, with that basket full of wine. Some bring cakes, bake things. But she knew her grandmother, and her grandmother, old hag, crept away. She knew what was coming. She left the door unlocked and sneaked into the forest, kept herself safe. That's not as she'll tell it, but that's how it was. Her name doesn't matter now. She is the blood, the offering. They've dressed her in the robe, the hood. She's on the path. Everyone knows where this ends. Everyone but her. They will speak of her by her robe. She had a name, Diani, sweet, soft Diani. Diani, always with a smile, and so generous it was close to foolish. Her name meant dear, fitting, perhaps, now. Now she is just the girl in the red hood. If she wasn't here, now, sometime later, she would have taken my hand and drawn it onto her breast, and it would have been sweet. In that cottage, on that bed, and she'd love the soft skin of my penis on her lips, and she'd smile when I shuddered as I came inside her, like a child given a gift. But this afternoon isn't going to end like that. I hate them for that. I want to call a pack and hunt them all down. They should fear me now. Those cruel men choosing her, making me do this, the worst thing, the worst part of this nightmare. What is destroying what soul I have left is I know she will taste good, good as she looks. I have always loved the way she looks. Pale skin, and that mass of dark hair tumbling out from her hood. Those child eyes. Too big, really. Those dark brown eyes. A beautiful child face on a woman. I want to look into them and for her to see me. The real me, you know? Not just the teeth. How long has this gone on? Thousands of years. I have read. Yes, I do read. I am educated. I have read the Greek. Pausanias knew the how and why. Told the story in which, each year, a virgin girl was offered to a malevolent spirit, offered as a sacrifice. And this spirit, dressed in the skin of a wolf, raped and ate the girl. They will tell another story, one that ends well. The girl will be rescued. Wishful thinking. A better story for their guilt. A happy fairy tale. Keep out of the woods. Don't speak to strangers. No one will mention Diani. They will agree, without words, not to mention her. They won't admit they chose the story. They chose the girl. I will be the malevolent spirit. Everyone believes there's a malevolent spirit. What does that mean, malevolent? I don't hate her. I do what they want. I do it for them. Someone has to. Someone always has. 1,000 girls, 1,000 innocent young girls, 1,000 virgins, so their crops will grow, so their gods will smile. I don the skin, the rank smelling skin, and pull the fangs into my mouth. It will haunt me. Next year, and the years after, all I will see is her eyes. I will see my teeth in her eyes. Watch her last moments, her confusion, and the rising fear. Her scream as I take her. Remember her hair tumbling from her hood. Remember the soft, sweet taste on my lips. As we stroll through the woods, the flowers mock me. They cover the peaceful, sun-dappled glades. Bluebells crowding round the base of the trees like flirting girls. Sweet-smelling columbine in the glades. The dog violet line her path. Bow as she walks to her sacrifice. Take your time, pick some flowers, I say. It's a lovely day. I know I'm going to do this. I know the flowers will cover the smell of your fear and your blood when I take you. Will help cover the stench when my teeth rip open your stomach. The gods will smile. They're bastard smiling gods. And the villagers, they all know it's happening. Duplicitous, lying, cruel bastards. They will cover it up again. They will tell their tales like they always do. But they know, they all know what big teeth I have and who I'm going to eat. Gorifans, Mummy and Daddy left me. They went away and left me on my own in this scary place with sharp and spiky stones that stab my feet. I don't want to cry on this beach, if it is a beach, because the only sound is that of pebbles crunching beneath my toes, and my voice sounds weird, like an echo. There's nothing to see except the wispy gray fog that folds around me. It feels like I'm by the sea because of the stones and that disgusting, salty smell. But I can't hear any waves or people splashing. If it is the seaside, a boring seaside with a stony beach, I don't know how I got here. I remember being with Mummy and Daddy. We went for a picnic and stopped at the toy store. Daddy bought me a brand new cat plush, Miss Mittens. At least she's here to keep me company. If I didn't have her, I think I would really cry, not because of the stones, or the fog, or the smell, but because Mummy and Daddy left me. Why would they bring me here? Why would they go home without me? When are they coming back? I don't understand. The next day, Mummy and Daddy left me, and I don't know where they are. I'm crying now, because I've been lost on this beach for so long. And when I see the woman float out of the fog with a smile and a big fluffy blanket, I know she'll help. I know, Tilly. I'm sorry I'm late. It took me some time to locate you. How do you know my name? I ask the woman as she bundles me in her blanket. I've been in my nightdress on this seaside with no sea, and the fog has been getting frosty, so it's nice to be wrapped in something warm. Did Mummy and Daddy send you? Not exactly, Tilly. Mummy and Daddy are sorry they couldn't get to you themselves, but I'm here now, and I'll take care of you. Come along. Let's get you someplace safe. Home? My home, Tilly. For a while. Don't worry. There are other girls like you there. I'm sure you'll make friends. And you can rest while we figure this out. The woman in the old-fashioned dress that has lacy trim around the collar puts her arm around me, and we start to walk back the way she came, stones crunching and crumbling beneath her fancy boots and my frozen toes. I have lots of questions, but I don't know which to ask first, so I say nothing and think about what she said. New home? Other girls? Figure this out? My face feels funny, I say, and my eyelids grow heavy. Your face is beautiful, the woman answers, but I don't reply. Another day, Mummy and Daddy left me, and the house went on fire. That's what Mabel Montgomery is trying to say, in a roundabout way, like I'm a baby. But I know she's wrong. There's no way Mummy and Daddy would leave me alone. And there's no way our house would go on fire because it's a new house with fire alarms and everything. And there's no way I died because I'm sitting in an armchair in an office wearing a stiff blue dress that was laid out for me when I woke up, in a bed with tall posts and a lace canopy. I don't know why she's doing this. I thought she was nice when she brought me here, to this mansion with dozens of rooms and maids and girls. But now I think she might be trying to kidnap me. Maybe she did that to the others. I haven't had a chance to talk to anyone yet, because I just got up today after sleeping for a really long time. But sleeping for a long time is not the same as dying. I know it's hard, the woman with the silver hair says. You need time, but I'm here for you. We will work together to get you through this. And then, when you're ready, we'll find someone nice to take care of you. She places a hand on my shoulder and smiles, but I don't trust her. Not anymore, because it's a lie. This manor, the beach, the fog, a lie, or a dream, or a nightmare. What else can explain the face staring back at me from the mirror as Mabel leads me from her office? The horrible, burnt face of a monster that couldn't be me because I didn't die in a fire. Yet another day. You're Tilly, right? I'm Jessica. I hope you're doing okay. I know it's a lot to take in, finding yourself here. I know it hurts. A lot. But you'll survive. It's easy for her to say. The teenager in the dress that's the same style as mine, except green. Her face isn't scarred and disgusting. Her hands aren't marbled and shiny. She has long blonde hair like I did. She's pretty. I heard what happened. It must have been so scary. I know how scared I was when I was drowning, but I can't imagine what it must have been like, too. She tries to be brave and look at my face while she talks, but the look of pity in her eyes is worse than the look of disgust I see in others, and I hate it. I don't remember, all right? Can you go away? I want to be on my own. Sure. I just thought you might want to talk. I know it isn't easy coming to terms with things. We've all been through it. You'll see a lot of girls like you, keeping to themselves. You'll see girls with injuries and wounds they're not ready to let go of. You'll see others like me. But none of us had it easy. So take your time. It will get better, I promise. I said, leave me alone. I surprise myself by shouting. I hop up from the window seat, abandoning my view of the fog, and push the girl away before storming across the polished wooden floorboards and racing up the staircase to the bedrooms. Bedrooms occupied by girls aged 6 to 18. Girls I don't want to talk to. Girls I can't even look at. Some of them have missing limbs. Some of them have cuts and horrible wounds. Some of them have holes. But the hardest ones to look at are the ones like Jessica, who look complete, like nothing happened, because my body is burnt and olay from a fire, and it's not fair. The 5th day, or more. Hey, I'm Carly. Seen you around, but figured you wouldn't want to talk yet. Enjoying Miss Mabel Montgomery's orphanage for late lamented lassies? Or, as I call it, the gorphanage. If you're lonely, you can move in with me. I won't bug you about adapting, and I don't want to know your tragic past. I have a spare bunk since my friend Delilah sold out and got adopted. The traitor. I've seen this girl around too, sulking and being mean to the maids. She's another damaged girl, like me. She has a gash on her neck, one that seems to laugh as she speaks, and purple bruises on her legs and arms, which are visible because she isn't wearing a dress. She's got jeans shorts on and a t-shirt with a picture of Taylor Swift, both of them covered in reddish-brown stains. I guess that's what she was wearing when she got here. I wish I'd kept my night dress and hadn't sold out. Maybe, I reply, which is a surprise. I haven't spoken to anyone in days, though plenty have tried to talk to me. Mabel, the maids, various girls, mostly the complete ones, though some of the gruesome ones too. I wasn't in the mood. But there's something about this freckle-faced girl with the ponytail and chipped front tooth that makes me feel comfortable. Have you been here long? Long enough to know how to get on Miss Mabel's tits and how to scare the shit out of the ghost mothers. Want to come to my room? We can hatch some devious plans. Carly is about my age, but she uses lots of grown-up words, and it makes me nervous, but also excited. I never had a friend like her. And she isn't looking at me funny like the others, even the ones with missing limbs. So I nod and smile for the first time in ages. Leaving my room, I look over the banister down into the foyer of the mansion. Miss Montgomery is there with Jessica, who hasn't spoken to me since I told her to go away. She's holding the hand of a person I haven't seen before, a tall, pale stick of a woman in a tweed outfit. Miss Montgomery opens the door, and wisps of fog sneak in as Jessica looks up and waves. I don't wave back. I see the skinny woman follow Jessica's gaze and gasp as her eyes fall on me. Shocked by my appearance, I stick my tongue out and waggle my hands alongside my crusty face, then hurry after Carly, avoiding Mabel's disappointed look. A later day, Mabel tells me Carly is a rebellious girl who's struggling to accept her own passing, so it would be better if I talked to someone else, so I can process and come to terms. Well, what if I don't want to process how my parents left me to die? What if I don't want to come to terms with being burnt alive and looking like a monster? Carly says, I don't have to. Carly says, I can wear my scars like a badge of honor. And if Mabel and her maids and the ghost mothers who come to replace the kids they left behind in the real world don't like it, then tough. Mothers who leave their children are the worst, even if they do it by dying. Why would I want a new mother anyway? A dead one? They don't care about me. They can't even look at me. Every time one visits, I see how they turn away from me and Carly, and Lucinda, and Selena, and Flair. Because we're ugly, burnt or cut, or missing important pieces. We're Gorifans, and nobody wants a Gorifan, even if they might say they do. Fake smiles, telling me I'm beautiful, telling me my soul is beautiful. I don't give a shit about my soul. I want my face. That's why it's fun when Carly tricks them, waits till they get close, then spurts a fountain of blood from the gash on her neck. So funny seeing them jump. That's why I let her teach me how to summon my own death echo, so I can scare the shit out of ghost mothers by bursting into flames. It gets rid of them pretty fast, and it gets on Miss Montgomery's tits, and I get to spend more time with the Goreffans, the ones that didn't sell out, like Bambi, who took the rope marks off her neck the other day and went away. A traitor, but she'll see. When she gets abandoned again, she'll see it's a waste of time trusting a mother. A bad day. Carly isn't talking. I think she's depressed. Mabel brought a bunch of ghost mothers to the Goreffinage the other day and assembled us girls to be inspected. Not that she used that word. She said there had been an influx of parents to the beach due to a global pandemic, and it was an opportunity to place a few girls But Carly said we were just being inspected, and of course, it was only girls with no obvious injuries who got adopted. Sure, a few mothers tried to talk to me and pretended they didn't notice my scars, but I knew they were just trying to make me feel better. Why would they pick me when they could have a complete? Why would they want a girl with a face like burnt toast? Carly lost it after the 4th or 5th. Mother tried to hug her. She threw her head back and sprayed the biggest fountain of blood I've ever seen. It went everywhere, all over the mothers and the girls and Mabel and the maids and the floor. I didn't think it was ever going to stop. I couldn't stop laughing. Mabel had to send the mothers away, and that's when stupid Lila pushed Carly, telling her she was a selfish a-hole for ruining things for everyone else. How dare she? Why is it okay for completes to get adopted, but not Gorophans? That's not fair. I told Carly that, but she was upset and didn't want to talk. She went to the window seat to stare into the fog. She's been there for days, and I miss her. I'm lonely again. I hate it. I want to go home. The worst day. Carly's missing. Have you seen her? Carly is gone from the window seat. I checked everywhere. The kitchen, the pantry, Lucinda and Flair's rooms, the lounge. But I can't find her, and nobody knows where she is. So I burst into Mabel's office, even though I'm not supposed to when the door's shut. Mabel is behind her desk, talking to a woman and girl who have their backs to me. A woman in jeans and a jumper, and a girl with long brown hair in an ivory dress with lace trim. One of Mabel's dresses, though I haven't seen it before. Tilly, I'm busy. Can you go to your room and wait? I'll talk to you when I finish here. The way she says it makes me think she knows something. I hesitate because I want to know what it is now. But the mother starts to turn, and I don't want to be looked at with disgust, so I back out of the room. Until the girl in the ivory dress turns, and I recognize her freckles and chipped tooth. With her hair down, and without her wound, Carly looks like a different person. A nice girl. A pretty girl. Complete. Tilly, she says, slumping her shoulders. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I don't want to hear it. She's a sellout. A traitor. Like Delilah and Bambi and Selena. Another one who's going to leave me. And this time, I can't stop my tears. It was my time, and I slam the office door shut and run upstairs. Day, whatever. Mabel talks and talks, but I don't hear. Ghost mothers visit, but I stay in bed. Flair and Lucinda try to cheer me up with their death echoes. Flair pops off her head and juggles with it, while Lucinda pulls out her guts and ties them in the shape of a dog. I don't care. Mummy and Daddy left me. Carly left me. Even Miss Mittens disappeared. Why does nobody want me? Why do I exist? I want to die, but I'm already dead. I'm dead. I am dead. A much later day. No, I don't want to stay here. I want to go home. Miss Montgomery's door slams back against the wall, startling me from my fog watching and bringing my eyes to the 6 or 7-year-old girl who runs from the office to the large double doors of the manor. I want my mom. Let me out. 2 maids intercept the girl, whose long blonde hair is bloody and matted around a hole in her head that shows her brain, whose dungarees and shirt are torn and stained. Go away. Don't touch me. Mabel is in her doorway, arms crossed, watching. Just another day at the office. Where's my mom? What did you do to her? The girl lashes out and knocks a vase off a tall wooden table. Leave me alone. The girl pushes a maid away roughly. Where's my mom? I want her. The girl escapes the second maid, not looking where she's going, runs into me before I can step aside. She looks up, angry, spittle flying from her lips. When she sees I'm just a girl, her expression changes. Have you seen my mom? Do you live here? Fear on her face now, terror in her eyes. Temporarily, I reply, and drop down on one knee. It's a place to be, while we wait. For what? To go home? Sort of. What's your name? Alice. Okay, Alice. I know you're confused, and it will be hard for you to understand why you're here, but it's a safe place. It's okay to be angry, but you can make friends, and those friends will help you come to terms with shut up, the fear gone, the anger back. She thinks I'm another of them because I sound like Mabel. Mom, where are you? She breaks away from me, runs to the staircase and up. The other girls standing at the top, drawn by the commotion. She sees Lucinda and Rebecca with her face of glass shards and screams, drops to the floor, covers her head. A maid secures her, bundles her up, and carries her crying the rest of the way to a room. A bed, a dress. I realize Alice looked me in the eye when I was talking. She didn't flinch or try to get away. I stand and take a step to a wall-mounted mirror. There, staring back at me, is Tilly. Scars remain, but not as monstrous as before. My arms and hands remain pink and shiny, but I recognize myself. In the reflection, Mabel smiles as she closes her door. I still have a long way to go, but maybe, like Jessica said, I will survive, and so will Alice.